Rideshare services like Uber and Lyft have changed the way we travel. With just a few taps on your phone, a stranger pulls up to your location, ready to take you where you need to go. It's fast, easy, and for the most part, it feels safe. But what happens when that sense of safety is shattered? What happens when the person behind the wheel, or even the one in the passenger seat, has a much darker agenda? Tonight, I'm going to share with you 3 disturbing true stories that happened to real people who trusted a ride they never should have taken. These aren't just urban legends or cautionary tales. These stories were submitted by actual people, some who barely escaped and some who are still haunted to this day. So buckle up, lock your doors, and let's get into 3 disturbing true Uber and Lyft horror stories. Story 1. The Man in the Trunk. This happened to a woman named Elise in 2019, right outside Sacramento, California. She had just finished a long, exhausting shift at the restaurant where she worked as a line cook. It was almost 11 p.m. and Elise didn't own a car. Usually, she took the bus, but that night she was too tired to wait. So she pulled out her phone and ordered an Uber. The app said the driver, David, would arrive in 5 minutes. He had a good rating, a black Nissan Altima, and over 200 rides completed. Nothing seemed off. When David arrived, Elise hopped in the back seat like she always did. He greeted her, confirmed her destination, and they took off. The ride started off quiet. The car smelled faintly like air freshener, and David didn't talk much, which was fine with Elise. About 10 minutes in, she noticed something weird. David kept glancing in the rearview mirror, not at her, but almost behind her, like he was checking something in the back seat or further behind. At first, she thought maybe he was just paranoid or cautious, but then she heard it, a sound. It was a faint thump, like someone shifting around, coming from the trunk. She froze, tried to brush it off. Maybe something was rolling around back there, a tire, a toolkit, but then she heard it again. Louder, like someone trying to adjust their position. It was unmistakably a human movement. She looked up and met David's eyes in the mirror. This time, he wasn't trying to hide it. "Hey," Elise said, trying to stay calm. "Is there something in your trunk?" David didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Just some old junk. I need to clean it out." But his tone was off, cold, unbothered, like she had asked something stupid. That's when Elise started to panic. She reached for her phone, but there was no signal. They were driving through a stretch of back roads between neighborhoods, and her LTE had dropped out. She had one chance, one move. "I'm gonna be sick," she said. "Can you pull over?" David didn't say anything, just kept driving. "I said I'm gonna throw up, man," she yelled. "You don't want that in your car, do you?" That did it. He sighed, agitated, and slowed down. As soon as he rolled to a stop, Elise threw the door open and ran. She didn't stop to look back, not until she reached the porch. Lights of a nearby house banging on the door, screaming for help. The homeowners called the cops. By the time they arrived, the car and David were gone. But here's the part that still chills Elise to this day. A week later, she got a call from the police. They had tracked the driver down using Uber records. When they popped the trunk of his Altima, there was a man inside, alive, beaten, gagged, barely conscious. According to investigators, David had picked him up hours earlier, an attempted carjacking gone wrong. But instead of reporting it, David had thrown the man in the trunk and kept driving, looking for another victim. Story 2. Her eyes never moved. This story comes from a man named Jonas, who lives in Cleveland, Ohio. It happened during the height of winter, early 2020. Jonas was coming home from a friend's birthday party. It was late, around 1 a.m., and freezing outside. He didn't feel like taking public transportation, so he ordered a Lyft. The driver was listed as Stephanie. Her profile picture showed a woman in her mid-30s, smiling with over 4.9 stars. When she pulled up in her red Toyota Prius, everything matched. So Jonas got in. But from the moment he sat down, something felt wrong. Stephanie didn't say a word. She didn't ask for confirmation. She didn't greet him. She just stared straight ahead. Like a mannequin. He said, "Hey, thanks for the ride," trying to break the silence. Nothing. Then the car started moving, and that's when he noticed. Her hands were trembling, not just shivering from cold, like she was gripping the wheel, too hard. Her knuckles were white. Jonas leaned forward a little and saw that her eyes, wide and glassy, weren't blinking. They were locked on the road like she was in a trance. Still trying to keep it light, Jonas said, "Rough night?" Nothing. No response, just quiet breathing. About 5 minutes into the drive, Jonas realized something terrifying. They were not heading toward his apartment. He checked the map. She was taking a completely different route, one that veered away from the city and toward an industrial district. He didn't recognize. This isn't the right way," he said more forcefully. Still no answer. He leaned forward, louder this time. "Hey, you're going the wrong way." No reaction. Her eyes never moved. Jonas started to panic. He was a big guy, but the silence, the stare, it was unnatural. He grabbed his phone, ready to dial 911, when suddenly the car jerked to a stop. Stephanie, or whoever she was, turned slowly toward him for the first time. Her eyes were completely dilated, and then she whispered in a voice that barely sounded human, "He told me to pick you up." Jonas jumped out of the car, right there in the middle of a side street, and ran. He didn't stop until he reached a gas station. Called the police, gave them her plate number. But when officers checked the system, there was no record of a driver named Stephanie in that area. And Jonas's ride history? It was blank. To this day, he swears he never hallucinated. He even showed friends the pickup notification, but somehow it disappeared days later. As if it had never happened. He still takes rideshare sometimes. But he never sits in the back seat anymore. Story 3. Last Ride of the Night. Our last story is from a former Uber driver named Marcus who worked in Phoenix, Arizona for over 4 years. This happened back in 2017 during a weekend night shift. It was close to 2 a.m., and he had just dropped off his second-to-last passenger. One more ride, and he'd call it a night. Then the ping came in, pick up on a rural road just outside the city. A man named Ty. No profile picture, just a single name. The location was odd, but not totally unheard of. Sometimes people got stranded or stayed at remote Airbnbs. Marcus accepted the request and drove out. When he arrived, he found the guy standing alone by a stop sign. No houses nearby. Just open desert. Ty got in, thanked him in a calm, friendly voice, and gave an address downtown. Seemed normal, but as they drove, Ty started asking weird questions. "You ever see things out here? Ever pick someone up that wasn't really there? Ever wonder if people really get in and out of your car?" At first, Marcus laughed it off, but Ty wasn't joking. His voice was flat, hollow. Then Ty asked something Marcus never forgot. "You ever had someone stay in your car after the ride was over?" Marcus tried to ignore it, focused on the road. But out of the corner of his eye, he saw something that made his stomach twist. Ty was looking into the rearview mirror, not at Marcus, but behind him. Like there was someone else in the back seat. Marcus turned. No one there. But Ty just smiled and whispered, "She's been following me all night." That was enough. Marcus hit the gas, wanting to get this guy out of his car fast. When they reached the drop-off point, Ty got out, nodded politely, and walked off down a dark alley. Marcus ended the trip, sighed in relief, and turned to check the back seat one more time. That's when he saw it, handprints on the inside of the rear window. Small, childlike handprints, smudged across the glass. But no one had sat there that night. He cleaned the car the next day. Told himself it was just a weird guy in a dusty window. But here's the kicker. A month later, Marcus got another ride. Request, same area, same name, Ty. This time he declined. Ride-sharing is part of modern life. Most of the time it's safe, convenient, routine, but sometimes it turns into something else, something darker. We trust these services because they're familiar, But familiarity can make us careless. These stories are reminders that you never really know who's sitting in that driver's seat, or who might already be in the car. Stay alert, stay safe. And remember, if something feels off, it probably is. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more true horror stories. And if you have a chilling experience you want to share, drop it in the comments or send it to us directly. You might just hear it featured in an upcoming episode. Until next time, drive safe, and don't look in the rearview mirror too long.